What happens when money itself dies? Not through fire, not through theft, but through something far more subtle and destructive. Imagine holding a silver coin in your hand, stamped with the proud face of the emperor, a symbol trusted across 3 continents. That coin once fed a family, paid a soldier, bought a barrel of wine, and then one day it barely buys a crust of bread. What changed? This is not just the story of Rome as currency, it is the story of how even the strongest empires can crumble when the story of money itself collapses. At the height of Rome's power, money was more than metal. The Denarius, Rome's silver coin, was not just currency, it was a promise. A soldier on the German frontier could accept it, and he knew a merchant in Alexandria would honor it. A trader in Gaul could take it for wine, confident it would buy grain in Carthage. The coin was Rome itself, its power, its reach, its stability. Under Augustus, the first emperor, the denarius was solid, nearly pure silver, 98% fine. Prices were steady, wages reliable, and Rome's economy stretched across a world it called its own. To hold a denarius was to hold a piece of the empire's authority in your hand. But behind the glitter lay a shadow. Empire came at a cost. Every new frontier meant new legions to feed, new roads to pave, new cities to build, and new spectacles to distract the restless crowds of Rome. The empire's wealth had always depended on conquest, on treasure flowing in from new lands. But when expansion slowed, the silver flow slowed too, and emperors, faced with the impossible task of funding an empire that no longer paid for itself, found a solution: quietly cheat the very people they ruled. Nero was the first to try it openly. He reduced the silver content of the denarius just a little from 98 to 93%. Hardly anyone noticed at first, but the precedent was set. Once the door was open, it never closed. Over the next 2 centuries, emperor after emperor shaved away the silver content. Each new reign promised strength, each new coin was lighter in value. By the mid-3rd century, under Emperor Gallienus, the denarius contained less than 5% silver. The coin still shone on the outside thanks to a thin silver wash, but inside it was bronze, cheap, hollow, and unworthy of trust, and everyone knew it. Soldiers demanded higher wages to make up for shrinking value. Merchants raised prices daily until numbers on coins and numbers in markets no longer matched reality. A loaf of bread that once cost a single denarius now cost dozens, then hundreds. Ordinary citizens who had saved for years watched their wealth dissolve into worthless metal. Rome had discovered something we know all too well today, the nightmare of hyperinflation. When money failed, people improvised. Soldiers refused debased coins and instead demanded payment in grain, wine, or land. Farmers preferred barter wool for tools, wheat for salt. In some regions, people abandoned imperial coins entirely, minting local tokens or relying on private ledgers of debt. What held communities together was not the emperor's coin, but personal trust. And ironically, as the state's money failed, a new institution quietly grew in strength: the Christian Church. While emperors issued coins no one trusted, churches collected gold, stored grain, and became safe places for trade and charity. In the collapse of imperial money, faith became a stronger currency than the empire itself. Some emperors tried to fix the disaster. Aurelian reformed the coinage and even added marks promising value. But once trust is broken, no stamp can restore it. Diocletian went further. In 301 AD, he issued his famous price edict, legally fixing the prices of over 1,000 goods and services: bread, meat, clothes, even labor. Sell above the limit, and the punishment could be death. But laws cannot force faith into a currency. Markets simply went underground, inflation roared on, and Diocletian's grand edict faded into history. The empire did not vanish overnight, but its monetary system never truly recovered. Gold coins, like the solidus, introduced later, preserved some value for the wealthy and the state. But for ordinary Romans, the denarius, the coin that had once been the backbone of an empire, was dead. What survived was not the emperor's face on a coin, but the networks of trust people built on their own: barter, local credit, and communities of faith. The empire's money had collapsed, but human creativity endured. Now, it's tempting to dismiss this as ancient history. But history has a way of echoing. Consider Germany in 1923, where printing money to pay war reparations caused prices to double every few hours. A family could go to a bakery in the morning and return by evening to find bread had risen beyond their day's wages. Children played with stacks of banknotes worth less than the paper they were printed on. Or Zimbabwe in 2008, when a $1 trillion note could not buy a sandwich. Or Venezuela in 2019, where workers carried bags of bolivars to buy rice, only to see prices climb before they reached the store. Even in stable nations today, echoes remain. Central banks print money at unprecedented rates, governments accumulate unimaginable debts, and inflation quietly erodes the value of savings. Your grandparents could buy a meal for a few coins. Today, the same money would barely cover a drink. Tomorrow, who knows? The story of Rome's Denarius is not ancient, it is repeating in new forms right now. The Romans believed their empire was too strong to fail, their armies unmatched, their roads eternal, their laws immortal. Yet their money became worthless, and trust fled faster than legions could march. We often believe modern economies are too sophisticated, too digital, too global to collapse. But are they? If Rome, the superpower of its age, could be undone by the slow death of its currency, what makes us believe we are immune? There are lessons here, carved into history. The first, money is not metal or paper or even code, it is belief. A story we agree to trust. And once people stop believing, no emperor, no government, no central bank can force them to. The second, the basement always carries a cost. Rome thought it could quietly shave its coins forever, but in the end it shaved away its own legitimacy. And the third, when official money fails, people do not simply give up, they turn to alternatives. Barter, private credit, gold, or faith-based institutions. Something always survives because people must survive. The fall of Roman coinage is not simply about Rome, it is about us. We live in a time where wealth exists in digital clouds, where numbers on a screen represent our life's work, where debt towers higher than any ancient emperor dared to imagine. Inflation may not always roar, but it whispers, eating away at savings in silence. The question is not whether money can fail. It already has again and again. The question is, what will survive when it does? Because Rome shows us a hard truth. The survivors are not those with the most coins, but those with the most trust. Trust in communities, trust in systems beyond paper and metal, trust in resilience itself. So ask yourself this: if money died tomorrow, what would you trust instead? Gold? Technology? Your community, or something greater? History suggests that when the coins crumble, trust is the only currency that truly endures. And if this story made you think differently about money, empire, and history, don't let it end here. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still believes money is eternal. Because Rome once thought the same, and we know how that story ended.